Is she ready? We good? Jeannie, we good? What's that? That's all right.
No, it's one high.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council Work Session, Monday, October 3rd, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody down here in person. Glad to see everybody. And we will jump right into it. We have Chief Zukoski up with RL 22-234. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call. I want Councilman Scringy had me so excited about the pace of the budget meeting that I got rolling here. So could you give us a roll call, Mr. Clerk, please?
Yes, Councilman Scaringi. Present. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Then.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns. Present. Councilman Scanlon. Present. And President Strong.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay. Now have welcome Chief Zukoski, RL 22-234.
It's on Chief. All right, I'd ask the council to accept the annual DCGS grant, the GIVE grant. For us to fight firearm and aggravated assault crimes within the city. For the amount of $223,530.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Chief Zukoski on RL 22-234? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Chief. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So I know that this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is an annual grant. Is that right?
Well, we have to apply every year. So
Apply
yes.
every year. Okay. So I'm wondering if there's any data to show what like how much violent crime has gone down, or how to show how effective this grant has been in reducing violent crime in the city.
Well, I'd have to get back to that data, but it's just not for reducing crime. It pays the salaries of our 2 analysts that do many others. They don't fight crime themselves.
Right.
The majority of it is the salary and the fringe benefits of our field intelligence officer, Investigator Wood, who interviews people in the jail, and a crime analyst that works in the Intel Center. So that's the majority of the money, plus the overtime for hotspot policing.
Right. I love data, so.
I know you do.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief on RL 22-234? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good
Appreciate
night.
it. Okay, we have Megan, Deputy Mayor, RL 22-240. Whenever you're ready, go.
Okay. RL 22-240, this is amending the 2022 police budget to purchase 10 radar signs. These are the signs, the solar powered signs that show the speed of a driver as they go by. We did a pilot program in the last year or 2 on Pennsylvania Avenue near the city line, where we had been receiving a lot of complaints from residents about drivers speeding as they entered the city of Binghamton. That's worked relatively well. We've certainly gotten fewer complaints in that area. So we'd like to purchase 10 additional signs to place around the city in areas where speeding is a concern.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President Strawn. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, good. Do you have an estimate or a skeleton plan as to where these signs will be placed?
We don't have any set locations at this time. I know that off the bat, the mayor wants to target areas that are near parks and schools, but ultimately we'd be working with the traffic division to identify the best locations.
And would that require another assessment of these areas? Are you going on the data that was collected previously?
I would imagine that the traffic division has a number of locations already that are on their radar. Some of it would be based off complaints that we get, just like this Pennsylvania Avenue location. And then we would probably defer to the traffic division for the areas that they find speeding a problem in.
Okay. And what is the estimated timeline for implementation or for these signs to be in place and active?
I think once this is approved, we'd go ahead and order them. And I don't know the time on how long it'll take to get in, but DPW can install them pretty quickly once they are.
Okay. But I mean, do we have a guess? Will they be up here?
I don't, because I'm not sure the time on delivery, but I can find out.
Okay. That would be great. Now, will this be on the agenda for, since they are kind of part of the decision-making process, or no?
I don't think so. I don't think it requires traffic board approval, just city council for the amended budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Scanlon, go ahead.
Megan, are these the ones I see on wheels? Or they,
No,
It's a
these
different-
are mounted to poles. So the
Okay.
one that we have now is on Pennsylvania Avenue, right as you come into the city. If you want to, I believe it'll be the same one.
so they're not permanent mounted on poles, then correct?
They're more permanent than the one that the traffic division wheels around on the
Okay.
trailer.
Yep.
DPW got them on the poles. I imagine that they can be moved. We moved the one on Pennsylvania Avenue to get the location right.
Right.
More permanent.
All right, thank you.
Anything else on RL 22-240? Councilwoman Riley.
Okay. So then we would have to maintenance these services as well, correct?
Yes, I would think so. They're solar powered. My understanding is it's pretty limited maintenance, but we would own them. So yes, it would ultimately require our maintenance.
Okay, and are we purchasing some type of insurance and any type of protection?
I don't think so. We haven't
Warranty.
had any issues that I'm aware of, the one on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President,
Councilman.
thank you. Yeah, the one on Pennsylvania Avenue, when Jared was the deputy mayor, we worked together putting that on there on Pennsylvania Avenue, and the people really appreciate it. And it's a very good thing.
Yeah, we had been hearing, the traffic board had been hearing from a lot of residents when the mayor was deputy mayor on that location, and it quieted down significantly. So I think it's helped.
Anything else on RL 22-240? Okay, thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
You know, Mr. Kruger, the water department. How you doing?
Good.
And thanks for coming down. Tell us about RL 22-231.
Good evening, members of the council. I'm requesting to transfer money from one budget line to overtime. This overtime will go directly to the water distribution department to cover main breaks and any other construction time overruns that we have till the end of the year.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Kruger on RL 22-231? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. My question is, can you tell us why you are anticipating overtime to be necessary for this and why this wouldn't be in the regular hours of the employees?
We do a lot of work weekends, nights. We have time overruns due to construction projects running a little bit longer. It just seems to be a year where we just seem to be running behind, except in the overtime charges. And I'd rather have it in there and be prepared for what may come than to run short and try to run something through at the last minute.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Burns, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The up on Midwood Drive, there was a water break last year. It was on a Friday, I think, and your guys worked all weekend. And by Monday morning, everybody had water running and it was fabulous how you guys handled that. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Anything else for Mr. Kruger on RL 22-231? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you coming down. You know, now I have Dr. Berling, RL 22-237. How you doing? Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead. RL 22-237. Tell us about that.
Yep, we're asking that a budget be created for the climate action plan update, and it is being pulled from a couple of different lines. I think it was attached to the RL, and it's going to go into professional services. And this is for the update of our 2011 climate action plan, an update of our 2006 greenhouse gas inventory, and creating a pathway to silver certification for climate smart communities, as well as identifying actionable items from the 2011 plan and metrics to see how we've achieved the goals.
Any questions or comments on RL 22-237? Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
You, Council President. Hello there. How are you?
Good evening.
Good. So we are moving these funds to professional services. Are we contracting with external parties to?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we submitted an RFQ, went public on Friday. And I have a copy of it. I wasn't sure if one had been transmitted, but if you're interested, I can send you one.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else for Dr. Berling on RL 22-237? Okay, thank you so much for coming down. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, now Mr. Merkel on from D. Good, how's everybody? Good. Tell us about RL 240.
Doing the first one about the vehicles. Okay. I want to amend the 2021 budget to take the remaining funds of $242,000 that was for the purchase of a front end loader that we really don't need right now, and use that to purchase some other vehicles to help us out. 3 vehicles for admin and supervisors. An F-350 with a lift gate. Parks vehicle chassis, because their chipper truck blew a motor this week. So we're gonna help them out. And a brush mower. I can get all that equipment that we need for the price of that loader that we really don't need right now.
That's nice. We can help out parks too.
Yeah.
Good teamwork. I appreciate that.
Yep.
That's great. Okay. Any questions about this, these vehicles for Mr. Dan Merkel on RL 22-236? Okay, tell us about RL 22-242.
Okay, and that's for the patch. It's not just cold patch. It's for the remainder season of the hot patch also. Our patch crew has been out, as you guys know, the roads are rough shape. And we need patch going into the winter too, cold patch. So this empty position of MEO, I'm then transferring that money so that we cover for the rest of the year for the cold patch and hot patch.
Councilmember Freeman, go ahead.
President Strong. Can you explain what cold patch is? please?
Yeah, it's a temporary fix. We don't heat it up. It can go in a pothole and it lasts through the winter until we get the permanent patch in the summertime, springtime.
So, and that's hot patch is the permanent one?
Right, that's more permanent.
Okay, so it's 2 different,
The plants close, the blacktop plants will close right around Thanksgiving. So then we have nothing to put in the potholes that is created throughout the winter season. With all the plowing, knocking the roads around and the freezing of the roads. So the potholes come back out. We have to have something to put back in there until spring.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
You. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good.
just for me and any other residents. So then are the potholes that are fixed with cold patch then prioritized when we're doing our renovations in the spring and summer?
Correct,
Okay,
correct. They go on a list and we'll check on those first.
okay. And so when we get those calls about these potholes, we can tell them that Dan told us.
Yeah, blame it on me.
Okay, okay. And I'll give them your, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Yeah, you will.
Anything else for Dan on either of these RLs for DPW? Okay, thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. Okay, we have Mr. Looks like Megan's going to step in for Mr. Carson on RL 22-233 and 241.
Thanks, Councilman Strong. Steve Carson was out today, so I can give these a shot. RL 2233, this is amending the city's existing agreement with Fairview Recovery Services to administer the coordinated entries system for our COVID housing program. This is the system that guides residents who call 211 and will connect them with rental assistance and mortgage assistance. Fairview's been administering this program since it started back in 2020. And this extends the contract with Fairview and puts the funds behind it to keep it going through September of next year.
Any questions or comments on RL 22-233? Okay, go ahead.
RL 22-241. So this involves the second round of COVID CDBG funds. Council already approved the allocation of this funding for rental assistance as part of the annual action plan. This legislation is simply authorizing the amended agreement with FEN for use of the dollars.
Okay, anything on RL 22-241? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
President Strawn, I just have a question for clarification. So I'm looking at the breakdown of the money amounts. And so I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, that the lines that are listed as the same, like, for example, the first line salary, Director of Housing and Community Services, that's partially funded. It's one position that's partially funded through ESG and through CDBG. Is that correct?
So I think this is actually part of the legislation that was attached and to Steve's RL and already approved, but could you ask the question again, Councilmember Friedman?
Sure. So I'm wondering if the title, like the lines that have the same title are one position or one line that where the funding is split between partially funded through ESG and partially through CDBG. Or if I'm not understanding that correctly.
So this RL just relates to the CDBG funding.
Okay.
So that first chart there is ESG, that would not be included, but like I said, I'm pretty sure this was part of the legislation that council had already passed and it was included. I'm not sure why that's in there, other than it might have been included as part of that past legislation.
Right. Okay. All right. So it would just be the top, the upper right hand chart, I
I
guess.
believe so,
Okay.
and I would suggest reaching out to Steve. He's back in tomorrow, and he can probably give you the full walkthrough of each of those lines. And if there is an updated one for the amended agreement, he can probably provide that too.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anything else for these two RL for Megan? Okay, thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Get it. All right, we have Pat up next with Parks.
Long
Are you
time
Pat?
no see.
Yeah. All right, tell us about RL 22-232.
That is to amend our budget. This was up at Ely Park. We went in to clean up an electrical panel, and behind that electrical panel, encased in the wall, we found a second electrical panel. So it took a considerable amount of work to put a new panel in and bring everything up to code.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Pat on RL 22-232? Okay, go on to 22-235.
These next three are, I'm using some money
Sure.
that we had left over as we approach the end of the year. First one is transfer funds for a water tightness study and to put a pool liner in. The water tightness study is at the south side pool at Webster Street. It's sprung a pretty considerable leak. So this will allow someone to go in, figure out exactly where the leak is coming from and repair it before it becomes a major problem. The second one is to put a vinyl pool liner in at MacArthur Park. It's the last pool we have that is still gunite walls without the liner. It will save us a lot of time and effort every year when we have to drain the pool, clean it, paint it every season. So that will take care of that going forward.
Okay, anything on the water tightness study RLs for the pools, RL 22-235? Councilmember Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. So to clarify, those are two tasks that are within this one RL, the Webster Pool and you said Rec Park Pool?
MacArthur Park Pool.
MacArthur, okay.
Yes.
And those are both within this one RL?
Yeah, they'll
Okay,
both go under professional services.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
RL 22-238.
That one is to have a company come in and replace all of our lock cores in the Parks Department. The current system has been in place since before I was born, so there are hundreds, if not many hundreds of keys floating around to various buildings, equipment sheds, just a security thing. We've invested a lot of money in the parks and the equipment and the programs, so we just want to make sure that it all stays secure going forward.
Councilmember Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. What are you looking to change it to, like a fob system or
Nope.
something that doesn't involve keys?
Nope, it will be, so we use a best coreway system. So we literally just go in and they'll make new cores that will run on a different set of keys that we produce. And then we'll have, key control over it where, in the past, different departments had access to cutting keys and whatnot. We'll be the only ones doing it for our facilities. So we'll hopefully have control over it.
Okay, so it's kind of like a key reset where
Yep.
now you'll know where all the keys are
Exactly.
specifically. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Just for our own information, how many locks are going to be replaced with this?
Right around 225. It's just something where we have the ability to do it in-house, but don't have the time or the resources to dedicate
And
it.
they're not all going to be masters where that one key will go into all 200.
Correct. So the way it works is we're able to key each lock with a number. So like, for example, Rec Park, we'd probably, do the pool building with one number, the carousel with one number, the maintenance. But then from there, I have the ability to cut, an individual key for the lifeguards to be able to open their building. I can cut what's called a master key, which would only open the parks, the bat parks locks. Or it's called a grand master, which would be able to open, all 37 parks locks. So it gives us a little flexibility.
Ties into those electrical boxes that we always, when people are having events.
Yes, we'd be
Okay.
able, with the lock key, yes. Yes, like all of those padlocks are on that same system where we can pop the core out and. Yeah. Of course.
Will Benedum's be doing the replacements?
So we'll probably go out to bid, Benedict, we will go out to bid, likely be them or Yell Help also services the best systems.
Okay, anything else on RL 22-238? All right, RL 22-239.
This is going along with what Danny just brought forward. Last year we bought 5 vehicles. There's about $50,000 left over from that. So that $50,000 will go towards the chipper truck that unfortunately its motor decided to quit on us.
Which after the ice storm we had in the spring, we realized is a pretty important piece of equipment.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, anything else for Pat McGinnis on RL 22-239? Okay, thanks, Pat.
Thank you very much.
All right, before we have the calendar discussion, we have Billy Goodson from the sewer plant. She's gonna come. I think we have what are we calling it? Is this a unscheduled RL?
We received another check from FEMA in the amount of $667,013.21. I'm requesting an increase to revenue lines, state aid and federal aid, and the interfund transfer line. And an increase to reimbursed owner recovery expense, professional services, which is in the JF line, the flood line. So I need to do an interfund transfer for that as well.
Okay, that's a good transfer. And what's that?
You like the RL after the meeting.
Okay, any questions or comments for Billy on this?
Mr. President,
Yeah, but
this is just a city reimbursement, correct?
Yes.
Is it requesting to be expedited? If needed,
If needed, if you could, yes, please.
I would support that.
Okay.
So. Thank you, Mr. President.
yeah, it shouldn't take long. We do have a pretty aggressive agenda on Thursday, but this shouldn't take long. So there's no, I don't see any reason for this kind of a thing why we can't do that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're on the topic, I should mention that we do have a reconsideration on Thursday for the FEMA money that we accepted at our last meeting. We made the mistake of using the budget lines on the RL.
Okay. All right, I wanted to have a quick discussion about the draft. We worked with the clerk's office. Well, go ahead.
Well, to the calendar. So tell me what happened. Why don't we have that in the packet? Please let me know what's happening.
Because it came down a while ago. We were kicking RLs back and forth because we had to do a reconsideration on Thursday. We thought what came into the clerk's office was for the reconsideration. Turns out it was a brand new RL to accept more money,
Okay,
even though it's nearly identical to the RL that came
okay.
in.
So
that we
there's
just passed.
two, and we're merging them into one with two different line items, or no? Okay, okay.
Right.
You're not on the mic though.
You'll be seeing a lot of them. What we've been told is that there have been FEMA checks that are going to be coming rolling in over the next couple of months. And the RLs are going to look almost exactly alike. That's why when they came in, it was mistaken for being a correction of the old one, not a new one.
Okay, now tell me this, they're all going into the same reimbursement line or?
That I don't know, but I suspect that that's probably close to true.
And this is going into the plant budget, not the. Once we get the legislation, I guess we will have all of that information there. Right, it's not going into a line in the city budget. We're approving it and accepting it for the sewage budget.
Right, I believe
you're
it's
correct. It comes into the city budget, but it actually benefits the city because eventually it offsets money we've already put into doing things.
Right,
It's a reimbursement check.
right. It'll offset.
Okay.
So the money that we spent is being reimbursed to us, so it will benefit the owners and the users. that
Okay,
gets accepted.
It's a revenue generator, so we want to get that in as quick as possible.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna go
absolutely,
on the
but we
revenue.
want to know where it's going. We want to see it so that we,
Yeah, I think she said city
Right.
reimbursement for city costs, right?
What did the city do? Where does it go?
It's a reimbursement,
It goes to pay off what we've already
that
spent.
what we've already
Loan
spent.
them money.
No, no, no.
No,
We,
just,
we had a cost associated with something. This is reimbursing the city for a cost we already incurred.
so don't have to divide it with the other owners. That's what I'm think we're missing. So the.
No. Yeah.
Okay,
Right, so if we paid for something, then we had budgeted that money that we had paid.
I don't think we as.
Now
the
we're getting
city
the
paid
money
for it,
back.
But the joint
So then where
sewer
does
board
that-
paid for it based on your authorization.
Yeah.
The money will go back in. What it will do, if I'm correct, and then you want Chuck to answer this question. It will offset the costs and the expenses to the owners at the end of the year because they're hopeful there'll be a reimbursement. So that it will look where what we owe to the joint sewer board at the end of the year.
there, we'll get that back.
Yeah.
Right. So that reimbursement back to municipalities
But I do agree-
theoretically could be increased.
I do
because
agree
of
with you. You want to look at where they're putting the money very carefully to make sure that it's not being rerouted into some other project. Pretty sure Chuck will review that before it gets down to you as well.
Yes, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty safe assumption that Mr. Shager will do that, but yes, we need to double check on that. But okay, went over this with the clerk's office. We think that we have a pretty good draft at least to discuss tonight. I guess the only highlights that I just want to mention, it slides in essence 2 Mondays to avoid holidays, which makes it a smoother transition. It takes the 27th of February, and then you correspond that with the Wednesdays. So there's more natural Monday, Wednesday transitions in this, but in this draft than we had this year. And then October 30th, it puts that work session on the Monday. So there's 3 work sessions technically in October, but that slides it up so that we don't have meetings on the week of Thanksgiving. And then naturally in December, the way it fell, there's no meetings also on the week of Christmas. So I think that that's a nice, we had talked about doing that. I think we did that before in this year for Thanksgiving. But the February one slides that back so that those 2 weeks are in between and include the President's Day holiday. So discussion, anything that looks like it might be a conflict of some sort that would rise to the level of changing a meeting? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strong. I'm just wondering if we need or ought to change the descriptor of our meetings as being on the first and third Monday and Wednesday, as it's listed on the website, just because it seems to me that there's only a few months where that is actually true.
We can do that.
Yeah, in January, obviously it slides. It just
Yeah.
avoid this calendar avoids all but Labor Day basically in a direct conflict with a holiday. A lot of them fall on
Yeah.
Mondays.
No, I understand why you did
No,
it.
you're right. You're right.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, on the website, it says city council meetings are held on the first and third Monday and Wednesday. And I think the only month where that's actually true is August and December. So I don't know if we need to change the description of that. like,
Right.
Categorization
Right.
of our meetings.
Change it till we meet whenever we decide we're gonna meet.
Yeah, like meet it, yeah, well, because it's in our, I think it's in the code, the city charter, the times that I think it says the first and third Monday and Wednesday at 6 PM. So I don't know if that needs, it just seems to me that only August and December actually follow that pattern. And so I don't know if it needs to be changed to say
Yeah,
we meet according to the
Yeah, I'm s-
calendar that,
just to echo that, that is in the city chart.
Well, I think we should officially do what we need to do to change it because this makes so much more sense than that. I know nobody's arguing with that, but if we have to do something to format.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
yeah.
we probably should. So we can move forward with, you can work on that with corporate counsel.
Yeah, I'll work with
And then
them.
we
We'll,
can,
we'll drop an RL to
Okay.
make the changes to do that.
So that's a good point, Councilmember Friedman. So now as a whole, whether it's a, we've talked before, whether it's a, a religious holiday or observance or some other reason. Is there anything that it looks, and obviously this isn't going to be final tonight, but it's for discussion. Is there anything else that jumps out at anybody?
Doesn't rise to the level of changing anything, but Orthodox Easter that weekend of April. There's a very good chance that I wouldn't be here, especially that week, the Wednesday, which is the 12th. Similar to what happened this past year, but just doesn't rise to the level of changing it for everybody, obviously. Just a heads up. We do have that holiday.
There's a religious
Orthodox.
observance. We should change.
Well, I mean, I'm the only one. I don't know that.
Doesn't matter. If you're okay with it. I'm okay with changing it. It's religious observance.
It would probably be the same way, but it's just me, just one member.
But,
That's fine.
but
That's fine.
what's that? April 13th, April 12th.
Well, yeah, then.
My only question was, Councilwoman Resnick, is it seems like this year was like, is it a day or is it the whole week? That was the problem that,
You're talking about, right, or.
I'm not saying problem, I
Right,
get it,
right.
but it's hard, if it's a whole week, it's hard to,
It'd be the 12th, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't rise to that level. I just want to be mindful that I will not be able to attend that night. I don't think we should be canceling the meeting because of that.
Why can't we just make it Tuesday, April 11th? Move that Wednesday to the Tuesday.
We don't have to complicate it, really. It's fine. It's fine. Just like last year, that was, I think, the first meeting I missed in 40 years.
But I think also if there are if we have constituents who are also observing that holiday, then they're not going to be able to participate in the.
I
Yeah,
say we change.
I'm okay with going to the, I would rather go to the Tuesday rather
You
than
wanna
the
do the
Thursday,
11th? That's fine.
if anybody was agreeable to that. So we would have, the first business meeting in April would be April 11th instead of April 12th. And then
may,
that would create we would have a back-to-back then.
may I offer for consideration, if possible, maybe to move it to Thursday, just to avoid the back-to-back? I hate those, the back-to-back meetings.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to be here that night, but,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, on the 13th?
Yeah, because the religious observance, it goes into the week.
Oh.
That's why,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
That's why I suggested the 11th because of that.
Right,
Right,
okay.
and again, it's just.
Well-
Well, there's the Orthodox celebrate like the entire week, and. Can they hear me now? Anyway, so really, it's the Orthodox Holy Week. It's an important holiday for the Orthodox folks. I have no problem personally coming here. I don't know that impacts anybody else. The only one night where I would probably skip is the 12th, is what I said, which was Wednesday. And I would be open to moving it to the 11th, but if we don't, that's fine. As it comes to me, you know what I'm saying? I'm okay with that.
Well,
now,
since
I
it is the
understand-
whole week, though, again,
It's been like that for 4 years.
I didn't
I'm
know.
fine with that. I'm completely, plus it's, well,
I don't think we can move the whole week,
Yeah,
but we
no,
can
no,
move a
not-
day.
I would be okay if we're able to move it from the 12th to the 11th,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
that's more than,
I'll support that.
accommodating. for
12th to
me.
the 11th,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
I mean, the whole week would be really hard to move.
right. Well, if you moved, either way, if you move it, you'd have back-to-back
Right,
meeting
right,
weeks, like
exactly.
literally, and I don't know if we've ever done that.
What's
Okay,
that, just
thank
out
you.
of curiosity, what's the holiday on April 7th?
What's that?
What's the holiday on April 7th? Why is that crossed out? Good Friday.
Friday.
Okay.
Ours would be the 14th, the following.
The week
So
after.
week
for
off,
explaining.
Right. October or something, right? Am I right?
Those Easter.
Okay, so there's one modification. Does anybody else have anything that jumps out? Like I said, we're not voting on this tonight. It was a draft to look at and talk through, so we can reconvene if people have a chance to look at this more over the next couple.
I
weeks or
also
whatever.
like that the budget dates
That's
are in
was
here.
just about to say. That was requested by someone.
Yeah, we've had trouble the last couple of years, so this is, yeah. Yeah,
To be honest, I wouldn't be opposed to scheduling more budget meetings, not because I love meetings, contrary to popular belief, but I get stressed out when we're trying to cram them into so few meetings. And I feel like if we're doing it this far in advance, I wouldn't be opposed to having more meetings so that we can like really parse out, we don't have to like zip through
Agreed.
everything in 4 meetings. But I will echo the sentiment. I think that's great that we're doing this far in advance.
I would also like to put the joint sewage board as a tentative date.
that's a good idea. That was a problem too.
That would take some coordination with Johnson City, but we could reach out to
We
them.
could at least ask them if they'd consider it. What I would say, you make a good point, but what I would say is that if I'm reading this right, this has 2 full days that are off of our meeting night. So that would naturally extend what we're trying to do over these 3 meetings this year. So there would be 1 additional meeting, including 2 of them instead of 1 being, because those are the ones that tend to be, like, for instance, the meeting on the 3rd is going to be potentially a very long meeting. Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going based off of what I have
There's Mr. Shager. We're gonna ask.
my understanding of in previous councils had multiple meetings across multiple weeks. And so, yes, this proposed calendar is more meetings than we're having this year, but I feel like 3 is so few that it feels to me like that's not the benchmark of like a average year. That it seems like to measure another year using 3 as the average number of meetings, I don't think is accurate.
I'll just chime in. I think what Mr. Strawn is saying though, is that even though this looks like 4 days, it's actually much more than what you've allocated for yourself today, because unlike today was like an hour between 5 and 6. These are full days. This 27th and the 11th are 2 full days with 2 half days. So it's even more time than what it appears just based on number of days.
Number 5 year is unlike what we did in our previous.
I will not argue that point.
And I, again, had questions that I just couldn't get out because I felt like, wait a minute. So, but I think it aligns with what Councilmember Friedman is saying. The more time, the better. We are this far in advance, we have more flexibility. Councilman Scanlon offered dinner last time, and I remembered, want to make sure he has ample time to order so that we can have dinner. Business though, we want to make sure that, don't feel pressured, because this next meeting, Thursday, we have 3 hearings immediately after the budget. So it's a long.
Just to add, I mean, even today, as we were going through, we were like, okay, here are the pages, any questions, let's approve it. Whereas in the past, the department heads had the time to go through line by line. Not that we need to go through every single line, but it is nice to hear more detail. Like, oh, this is increasing by this amount of money because of this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And
Okay.
we could maybe do more of those little like hour-long meetings beforehand, so it's not an extra day that everyone has to come, but
This would keep, just a reminder, what this would do, now we could back up and do something, say on the 10th, maybe. we have to, this keeps a public hearing on a regular business meeting night, which would be the 18th of October. And then allows for some space for a holdover and special meeting if that were to happen. Or whatnot or to avoid a public hearing in a meeting on a whole separate night. Rather than slide the whole thing back. We could look at something on the 10th. Possibly. Why don't we just hold this for now and send why don't we get an email chain going? Why don't we hold this for now? We're not voting on it and let's just see how the 6th and the 13th go. How bad the 13th actually is, because this would add another day on top of what we're doing this year, but but let's see if it's, how bad the 13th is, and then when we finish this, we can decide if we want to officially add another day. And of course, we could always add another day into next year as well, so. But this is a much better start than we've had in the past, so at least get some things on the calendar. All right, anybody have any other thoughts or comments on the draft? Please, let's email, we can start a chain maybe and email get your calendars, look at whatever, but I would think for the most part, other than some kind of an observance that rises to that level, that this is probably a pretty good draft of a plan. Okay, we have a lot of pending legislation. Anything noteworthy, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, there's a lot on here and a lot of it's noteworthy. We have 2 items with binds. We have a lot of ARPA funding. We have the sludge extraction system. We have a lot of youth funding. We have the application to the Empire State Development Corp. And we have the ones associated with our public hearings on Thursday, which are 187 Clinton Street, the student housing rezoning, and the cannabis rezoning.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order this evening?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Okay. All in favor?
2 seconds.